Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back everyone. Back with me again, Teddy Setiawan. In our podcast today, we have a special guest, Mr. Supardi Akhyat. How are you doing, Mr. Supardi? Could you please introduce yourself?
I am fine, thank you. I'm Supardi Ahyat, and just like Mr. Teddy, I am also a student in Asia Cyber University, or UNSIA for short. And thank you for having me. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
So today we are tackling a controversial, misunderstood topic, Golput. What are the pros and cons of Golput? Without further ado, let's dive in. So, what is Golput? What historical story of it?
Golput, in a nutshell, is an act of not participating in a democratic election held by Indonesian government. So we are not participating in voting. Although not participating in an election is a common occurrence, but the term Golput itself was commonly used during 1971 election. Uh, at that time, it was President Suharto's regime. It was viewed as a political defiance, as some form of protest against authoritarian regime of President Suharto. uh, when election were perceived as heavily manipulated and undemocratic. Back then, only three parties were allowed to participate in election. There are Golkar, and then P3, PPP, and then PDI, the original PDI, the OG without the
Yeah.
Perjuangan part.
Yes,
So
yes,
yeah,
yes.
so political alignment often associated with color. Yeah, so for example, if you are supporting the Suharto regime, you are yellow. So if you are uh, supporting P3, then you were green. And if you were with PDI, then you are red. But if you think that the whole system was a sham and undemocratic, then you are white because you are not aligned with any of them. So
Yes.
that's basically the story of it. And according to 2017 laws regarding election, an act of promoting or advocating or organizing golput itself is a punishable offense that can land you in jail. So it is, uh, yeah, you can make someone go to jail if you
Uh,
are, yeah, that's
wow,
the
wow, wow.
story of it.
Uh, so, if it started in 1971, why is it still popular today?
So, yeah, basically after the Reformation era in 1998 and President Suharto resignation, um, the political landscape in Indonesia changed drastically. We saw uh, drastic shift in various Indonesian governmental institution, including jurisdiction and also presidential. So yeah, and executive office also. So the DPR and also the presidential. Yeah,
Yeah.
but the political map itself hardly changes. So the most of political elites were still in power up to this day.
Mm,
And yeah, conditions were improved, yes, compared to the Suharto regime, but many of the underlying problems that sparked the reformation itself in the first place, such as corruption and uh, socioeconomic inequality and also political elites dominance still persist up until today. So it was understandable why people felt skeptical about the whole democratic system, and that resulted in their reluctance to not participate in elections. So it is understandable. Yeah, we have a reason for not participating in election. For example, I'll give you a story. This happened yesterday during election when I cast my ballot. While I was waiting for my name to be called, an elderly man sat beside me. From
Mm,
his look, I could calculate that he
oh,
has or he have participated in 3 times more election than I have. So
mm,
naturally, I greeted him and I asked him uh, which president uh, will he choose, and he said,
yeah.
"What difference does it make? Tomorrow I'm still gonna go to the rice field. I'm going to plow my land just to make ends meet. So nothing will change." He said
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So I was stunned. I am speechless. I could not say anything that punch me in the gut, to
Uh,
be honest. And I know it might sound like anecdotal. Yeah, it is anecdotal, personal anecdotal, but those cases exist and those people exist in Indonesia. So we cannot
okay.
pretend that all is fun and all is well. So we have to we have to at least
Uh,
acknowledge that they are exist.
okay, okay. So, what are the pros and cons of Golput to democracy, to us, to the people of Republic Indonesia?
Well, first of all, Golput in 2024 context is way different from that of 1971. So instead of protesting against an authoritarian regime, Golput now has evolved into a sort of dissent or a disillusionment with mainstream politics. So, having said that, let's analyze the cons from a democratic perspective. So, first of all, by abstaining from voting, we are inadvertently undermining the democracy.
Mm,
Every vote counts in shaping the outcome of an election. By not
mm,
participating in it, we are making our voice unheard.
yeah, yeah,
And we may unintentionally maintain the existing power and policy that we oppose,
yeah.
policy that is against us. Yeah,
Uh,
that's the first. And secondly, if a substantial amount of voter not participating in election, then it can raise a question about
mm,
the legitimacy of an election elected government.
mm,
Yeah, it can raise a question. And democracy has always been described as a system built for the people, to the people, and from the people. So it is
mm,
um, relied on active engagement of the people. So if we are abstaining from voting, in other words, disengage in democratic process, we are uh, eroding the democratic system itself.
mm,
So we are eroding the democratic itself, making it susceptible to manipulation and authoritarian tendencies.
yeah, yeah.
And democracy, by far, is the best governing system humanity uh, has ever formulated.
Yeah, I agree
I
with
know
you.
it can. Yeah. It is the best. Yeah,
Uh,
I think by far is the best. Um, I know it can often swift into more a demagoguery system, which is an evolved twin of democracy. But democracy, at least, allows us to hold the governing body accountable for any political policies and decision they make.
mm,
Because at the end of the day, authority must derive from the consent of the governed. Yeah, that is the cons.
mm,
Now let's address the elephant in the room. What is the pros of Golput? What are? Yeah.
mm,
Well, I can only come up with one con of Golput, and that it can ignite public
mhm,
discourse and uh, debate about the state of democracy, political representation, and the effectiveness of electoral system.
mm,
It can draw it can draw attention to the underlying problem because output itself uh, it's never the problem. It's never the main problem.
mm,
It's merely a symptoms. It's merely a symptoms of a more broad and complex problem. In our case, in Indonesian case, it is rampant corruption,
mm,
social economic inequality, and
mhm,
then political elite dominance, and also oligarchy, and then political dynasties. That is the main problem of it.
mm,
Yeah, and if we want to eradicate Golput or maximize the people's engagement with the democratic system, then we, or should I say, the political parties and the politician must first acknowledge the underlying problems and address that swiftly and appropriately. And if we we still treating the democratic process, such as election, as a transactional where voters' voice only worth a dime during election, then I think our election is no more than a glorified popularity contest between two powerful men who branded themselves as cute grandpa doing cringe dance on TikToks. Yeah. It's no more than that.
Okay, okay. I understand it now. Well, thanks for sharing with us, Mr. Span.
No problem, but for warning though, I am not an expert on politics, or nor I have claimed to be. So
Mm.
please take my opinion with a bit with a grain of salt. Yeah. So yeah, it is just merely an opinion for me.
Yeah, yeah,
It's an opinion for
yeah.
people
Okay.
that have been lived in Indonesia for the entire of
Uh,
my life, so
yeah.
I know how it is going.
Yeah, I understand it. Yeah, we're a democratic country, so we can express our opinion, right?
Yeah. I think we are still a democratic country, so
Hmm.
yeah, we can express our opinion.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Supardi, and thanks for our audience for tuning in. I'm Teddy, and with Mr. Supardi Akhyat, see you again in our next podcast. Bye.
Bye.